Has a GIS. Who knew? Our presenter is Mr. Wayne Meyer from SCANA. He's a GIS manager from SCANA Corporation. In this role, his team supports the South Carolina subsidiaries of SCANA, which include South Carolina Electric and Gas, Carolina Gas Transmission, and SCANA Communications. They're currently working on squeezing efficiencies among the different companies using GIS as a common denominator. Current key projects include right-of-way vegetation management for electric and gas transmission and distribution, as well as implementation of internal portal for ArcGIS. Wayne has spent all 20-plus years of his career at SCANA working in GIS. Meyer holds a master's degree in geography from the University of South Carolina and occasionally works at the university on special GIS projects.
See if we can get this to work. What I see here is not what you see there, so I guess I get previews of what's going forward. There's no clicker. I'm used to walking around and talking, and I don't want to be distracting to y'all. So, yeah, if you could man that would be really helpful. Oh, welcome. I'm excited to be here. It's been a long time since I've given a presentation at Stark, and quite honestly, that's a little disappointing. I've been so focused on presenting all over the country that I haven't taken the time to come and talk to the folks in my own backyard. And being that we serve over 36 counties, probably up to 39 counties now, we've picked up some stuff that we impact everybody in the room's daily lives in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through our products that we serve or directly being our customers. And I've been at SCANA since 1993, doing GIS for 21 years. So I have a lot to talk about. Put a disclaimer out there. I apologize, I didn't have time to separate my sarcasm and dry sense of humor with the facts and the truth that I'm going to try and take you through today. But really what I want you to walk away with is an idea of how we might be able to work together. Private-public partnership, relationship, some symbiotic relationship where some of the stuff we're doing could help you, or some of the stuff you're doing could help us. So with that, let's see what we have. Since we all are Esri users in the room, I didn't feel obligated, but I thought it was kind of humorous to take some of their slides that they've given to us over the years and published and have modified them how they work for us. And kind of surprisingly, I don't know about you, but when I've sat through a lot of those presentations, it's kind of like, wow, those are really pretty slides. Who actually does that? Who actually follows these slides? They're so complicated. Does anybody actually follow the process? And to a large extent, I'm here to tell you that we have. And it's kind of neat to have looked at the different things as the products have grown from Esri and how we've been able to consume and utilize them. So from the data management side, the analytics side, all the way to workforce optimization and operational awareness. So I need to grab my water. Give me the next one. The infamous cloud, ArcGIS as a system. It truly has evolved into that. And we're seeing that there is very little to zero data we have at SCANA that does not have a spatial component. And when you look at the customers we serve, we have 20,000 plus miles of electric, we have 10,000 plus miles of gas, we have 700,000 plus customers, we have all this information, and for years and years it was just locked up in spreadsheets in the mainframe, places where people couldn't get at it, and all of a sudden here comes GIS, and boom, everybody has access to it, to analyze it, to do stuff with it. And we really have the platform to thank for that. Because it really, back in the days when it was desktop ArcInfor, all the way back to Unix days and on the Otis, our 9-track tape systems. I mean, it's incredible how hard it was to get to that data. Where today, what I'm going to go through and show you how we're using it, is absolutely incredible how many people we can get the data into their hands and let them utilize it. So we followed this model, and you'll kind of see that in this montage. The other thing I did, which is kind of humorous, is I took 7 different presentations that I've done over the years and smushed them together into one. So I apologize, some of the colors are different, the fonts are different colors, I didn't take the time. I didn't update any of the older slides, but it's just kind of a neat look of all the things we've been doing. Maybe a couple more Esri slides. A little bit more of how that looks at SCANA from the asset management side to really getting the data out in the field, mobile, in our trucks, in people's hands that are doing service inspections, etc. Disseminating it through the web within the organization, and then ultimately getting it distilled enough to put it on dashboards for the executives to use to make decisions. Next one. Really the trend of visualization, getting GIS to everyone. Not everybody, contrary to what you all think in this room, not everybody thinks spatially. I know you have that same problem in your own organizations when you're trying to sell GIS. You get all excited, you have a map, you have data, you want to show them stuff, and they look at you with that blank stare of, okay, what are we going to do with that? And you want how much money to do that. So the ability to do all these different things, to integrate it into the organization, to between organizations, remove silos, all these different tools are really just about visualizing data. And once you can make that picture for the people, it's incredible the decisions and the process that they can take forward once they understand that. Maybe one more. And everything is mobile. Everything, it's not just here's a paper map, put it on your desk. It really is, how do you get it in everybody's hand? And now it is really their hand. It's not on a desktop or a laptop or a tablet. They want to see the complexity of GIS on their smartphone. Very quickly, just a little bit of text, and then we're going to go through a crazy number of pictures. We switched to Agile project management methodology about a year ago. Not going to go into it, but it's kind of really changed how we look at stuff, because we look at things in 2-week increments instead of 2-year or 24-month projects. So it's allowed us to get a lot of stuff done visually on a board and also be able to work with our customers. With 30+ active projects and planned projects, we needed some way to organize it. I follow the Dave Cowan method of organization, where my papers are all over my desk. But I can find what I need, but by golly, it looks like a disaster when you come into my office. One of our biggest challenges is trying to stay current on software. We have so many different things going on, so many platforms, and it's hard enough to keep up with Esri, but when you're using so many third-party pieces of software, it's mind-boggling that a premier third-party international company is just certifying our integrity management software on version 10.1. They're shooting for 10.2, but not even 10.21 by the middle of the year. That was released last fall. That is a serious challenge for us, in addition to whatever version of Oracle, SQL, Unix, AIX, and everything else we're trying to do just to keep up with the latest release, because those of you that are on the latest release, you know what has been unlocked, starting with 10.1 and 10.2 and 10.2.1. It's incredible. So servicing the organization is a challenge if you can't get there. We're currently jumping from 9.3.1 to 10.2.1 because for us, 10 and 10.1 and 10.2 didn't work. Performance-wise, bug-wise, there were some things that we really just could not make the migration to with all the stuff we have going on. You can read through the support of the users, hopefully you have. We support the entire organization in South Carolina. It's incredible how far we've come. Next slide. Prior to 2008, we really just did AM/FM, or Automated Mapping Facility Management. We really focused just on electric and gas facilities. In 2008, we decided to make a huge sweeping move to a commercial land base, which meant we had to reconflate or conflate all of our facilities to a land base that we weren't using. We did that utilizing a vendor. It worked very well, but now we can use imagery. We can also use parcels, and we could also geocode all of our customers. That opened up so much spatial data at the company that we could have access to and now map to, and everybody used the same base map. For a lot of you, that's like, how is that even possible? But for us, every department had their own GIS. Every department started with a different land base. So since 1992 till 2008, we had like 10 different GISs within our own company with different land bases. This one simple decision has exploded the use of GIS within the company. Next. Crazy, you would think that if you geocode, it matches every time. It doesn't. So we have a little process we go through, and I show that to you just to kind of give you a feel for. We also have information, if you're a customer, we know a transformer you're served by. So we're able to QA/QC our data based on where you are. If you're close to the transformer you're served by, we have a better feel that you actually match to a parcel in your correct location. We also have GPS all of our meters over the years in different AMR projects, and we can compare that lat long to where you are. We QA/QC that with the transformer as well as some other stuff. So we do a lot of cross-checking, but this will make sense a little more when you see some of the stuff. Next slide. So we geocoded 788,000 plus points in our service area, which is, for us, is huge. Electric, gas, it kind of gives you an interesting snapshot of how many electric-only customers we have, how many gas-only, and how many people have 2 meters on their house. So that was a byproduct of this, that when people saw it, they were just like, wow, we really didn't have a good way to visualize it. Now, next slide. And that's what it looks like. Obviously, a lot of points are on top of each other. Yellow gas only, blue electric and gas, red electric only. So very quickly and very simply, a great visualization of where our dual meter strategy is being successful, where our gas only area is, and where we have co-ops that serve electricity within our own gas areas. Next. The marketing and sales people are able to then drill down and do very simple stuff they couldn't do before, looking at that penetration of electric versus gas. Next. We built some tools using Silverlight to help us through that process. We've actually gone through and verified all these addresses. So once again, from my side of it, looking for a partnership, we did this using Navtech and CoreLogic and very few county data sets. So opportunities for us going forward to look at relationships that would help improve that. Some of the things we do with it, next slide. Boundary analysis. How many are our SCNG customers? You ever look at your bills besides the final amount? Depending on where you live, there's a fee you pay that's called a franchise fee that we collect for the municipalities that have a franchise fee. They charge us for serving electricity in your area. We use GIS to make sure that that's right. That you are, if you're inside the city limit versus outside of the city limit, you're getting that charged that fee or not getting charged that fee. And we work with the counties to verify it. Some of you that have lived here a while might remember that there was a little discrepancy. The Attorney General was involved. We had some questions about where people were served. Well, when you're a tabular row inside of the mainframe, it's a little hard to tell where you are. Using GIS, it's very visual, either you're in or you're out. So something very simple that we do every day as a GIS person, but in a multi-billion-dollar corporation, has a huge impact to our customers and the municipalities that we serve. Next. A little more detail showing our gas customers the quick capabilities of GIS to be able to help us do that analytics. Next. Annexations. For those of you that work for county government, we pay a lot of taxes to the counties based on the facilities we have in your county. We keep up with that in GIS, so every time a new facility is added, every time you do an annexation, we make sure the county gets their money, we make sure the city gets their money, and we keep up with our property and assets in GIS so that when we do our taxes, we utilize this information to make sure the money's going in the right place, and if something's been annexed, we make sure they get the money in the following tax year. We also use it for damage prevention, very important process. We have all those facilities, about half of those facilities are underground. All of them on the gas side are underground. Clever. Good place for them. But we use GIS to feed our ticket management system. We use our GIS to feed our South Carolina 811 so that we get all the tickets that we need to get our locates done. Some people think SC811 locates the lines. They don't. It's the facility owner's responsibility. So we don't want to locate a bunch of overhead lines because there's no chance for damages. So we utilize GIS to make sure we get the right number of tickets and get them located before the people do the digging. Next. We've successfully, and this is a little bit crazy, but we've successfully served some stuff out via mobile and Citrix onto the desktop. This is an ArcGIS Reader app, but we've actually been able to get ArcGIS to run via Citrix. Thank goodness we've moved away from that and we put a Silverlight app out, but clever thing when I mishmash all these slide sets together, you get some of the old slides, but originally this is where we started out to try and get mobile maps because for the longest time we were still printing paper map books to put out into the service trucks to look at the data. Next. Now I'm going to try and be a little more coherent and take you through some of the gas stuff. There's our gas service area footprint. I'm going to take you through a project in about 6 slides from a presentation how we use it for economic development, which I know, being an economic geographer, Dave, will be right there for you. So we're going to zoom down to Charleston and take a look. Oh, nope, that's fine. I switched the slides this morning and I should have known that. Let me take you just a little bit through the gas side. What is this, 1995 I came over to gas. That's what they were using GIS for. That's it. We made map books. Next slide. 2000 we had expanded, do a little modeling, engineering, and some DOT compliance stuff, and we still made map books. Hit it one more time and see if 2014 comes up. Nope, go back. Should have said 2014, but operator error. I didn't bring a professional slide operator. But this is where GIS is at SCANA today, just for gas. Just for gas. It is incredible that we went from the ArcInfo desktop to just about anything going on in gas is related to GIS. I mean, that is just incredible. I'm not going to read through all that, but that's just the progression of how far things have come, and a lot of that is because of what I said in the 2008 timeframe when we switched to a commercial land base. Next. Now the project, without further ado. Give me the next one. So Southern District, little orientation of the interstates and U.S. highways, state highways running through the area. Next slide. This was the extent of our gas system 5 years ago. Very, very constrained to the interstate corridor, very coastal. Give me the next slide. There's where we needed to grow. That's where development, as we were looking right at the peak of the boom in the tip of the iceberg of the crash, we needed to figure out how to expand in these areas. Next slide. Those were all the available tracts of land in that 3-county area in Charleston that we needed to get gas to, and a lot of it. Next. Then we have this little thing called territorial assignment I mentioned before, where we have different areas we serve. We are constrained on the electric side to only serve where we have assigned territory. People don't fully grasp that SC&G can only grow within the territory we've been assigned. The co-ops have the rest. Red is us, green is everybody else. And you can see where some of these projects are. Some of them are in the heart of SC&G territory. need a pointer. But this big green West Vaco track is smack dab in the middle of co-op territory. But there's still the opportunity with so much gas to be sold that we made a business decision to move into that area. Next. Utilize GIS to break it up into growth corridors and split it up for the salespeople. Simple stuff we've been doing for 20 years, but at the utility, just amazing that we convinced non-computer people to utilize spatial information to do their job better. Next. Focusing on one area, and just to see the power of GIS and the visualization for our sales and marketing people. So there's the pipeline corridor, the year they need to be done, the tracts of land underneath it, and then potential customers within those tracts. One more. Zooming in and projecting the visualization for the executives on where to spend the money. We went from spending, to give you a magnitude, the gas capital budget for building infrastructure was $15 million prior to this. In order to do this, it bumped up to $55 million a year to put in this infrastructure to be ahead of it so that when people started building the houses, we had gas in place and it wasn't can you get it there by 2 weeks or 2 months from now? We had it in front of the subdivision, in front of the house when the developer needed it. Huge difference between how we used to do business and because of GIS. Next. Told you that little slide. This is what it looks like. It used to be a text file. Now the synergy modeling for gas distribution planning, that model is driven by GIS. Days past, you send it off, somebody digitized it, they sent it back to you, you used it, it wasn't part of GIS. Now it's fed from GIS. Next. All of our regulating stations, stuff, the pipe that is above ground that you see on the side of the road is in GIS. Next. DOT compliance, this is switching to a more mobile app, but we wrote this in-house, used to be a mainframe app, it's all tied to GIS, how we manage all our assets in the field. Weird circumstance, we had engineering and sales doing projects, and even though they were in the same office, they didn't necessarily talk. And projects start, projects stop, change names, and we had people doing stuff in the same area without realizing it. And we raised our hand and said, hey, how about we start with GIS on every project? That way, no matter what name it has, when it stops or when it starts, if you go through creating a project and you have to go to that location, either it's there or it's not, and magically sales and engineering actually started talking. And they had something to talk over, and it happened to be a map. And we've gone way beyond this, but it was just neat that something so simple in GIS became the starting point for groups cooperating and doing business differently. Next. We took all our gas service cards, which some were lost, some were in file cabinets, some were in boxes, but not very easily accessible, and scanned them all. Because of our project to get our land base and geocoded, now in the field, they have access to stuff they would have to call the office. You'd read something over the phone. Now they can look at the service card, how the service was installed while they're in their truck. Next. Integrity management. Amazingly, the government comes up with really clever things to regulate us on and doesn't seem to give us money to do it. Integrity management is one of those. When people's pipelines start blowing up in other states, it gets people's attention, and they realize that they don't have as much information as they would like to have about the quality and management of our pipelines. So regulatory steps in, integrity management programs, started on transmission, moved to distribution. Distribution, because pipe is everywhere, has a little bigger challenge on how you analyze it. Without GIS, impossible. No way to keep up with the information, no way to build a statistical model that was based on spatial information and come up with how risky is it, what are the consequences of failures of pipe. So the clever people wrote the software, the GIS people said we have the data, and we can either analyze it by groups of pipe, or give me the next one, or we can break risk up by gridded area. So tally up the scores and then end up with what risk you have in that sector and then develop a program to mitigate the risk. Next. Transmission is much easier because it's linear corridor based, so you can actually do by segment. Plus it's operating at a much bigger, higher pressure with much greater consequence if it explodes. So we're able to come up with an entire program, manage it by segment of pipe, and then work our way through our project and come up with all kinds of clever assessments and remediation. Once again, without GIS, SCANA wouldn't have been able to do anything. You'd have been looking at paper copies, trying to do something in AutoCAD, it would have been a disaster. And as a byproduct, we can send our data off to the National Pipeline Mapping System, and now they have a copy, so they're happy to. Next. More gas stuff, more marketing stuff. How many people realize we know how many burner tips you have at your house if you have natural gas? One person. You're a star student, Emily. You're just trying to, never mind. But simple maps, but very quickly people can look, and the theory is if you only have one burner, and say your water heater goes out and they're offering a huge rebate on the electric water heater, you're probably just going to change because you can get it faster. But if you have and turn off your gas meter, but if you have a gas stove, gas fireplace, gas heating, and the gas water heater, you're probably going to replace it with the gas water heater regardless of your feeling on whether gas heats your water faster or not. But that marketing concept and looking at where we lose customers when they switch fuels. Again, GIS, they couldn't do that. Looking at a spreadsheet is just mind-numbing. Looking at a map and going, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And then you start looking at attrition on top of this map and the rest is history. Next. Clever pie chart. We like to try and figure out what to do with the software. So we show all kinds of, here you can look at it as a pie chart. You can look at it as graduated circles. Just trying to keep our developers busy. Next. Talked about attrition. Find where it is. Turn it over to them. Let them do their job. That's the coolest thing is we don't have to do the work. We do the maps. That's my phone. I'm muted or whatever. Sorry about that.
We need the SCE and G guy to be in this office right now.
Yeah. Thankfully, that's my personal phone. That's probably my wife just landed in Atlanta. Okay, back to the slides. Next. Cool, gas availability. You know, you can find a store, you can find anything on the internet, and until we did this, you couldn't find out if you could get gas. So if you go to our home page and you're moving here, or you live here and you want to know if you can get gas, you can type in your address. That was weird. You can type in your address and find out if you have gas close by. Get a clever little message that says, hey, we would like to contact you. Next. Switching to electric. Topic at hand is it's about ready to be an ice storm. This application and the one following it is probably going to get a lot of web traffic. But we have an internal and an external outage map. This is our external one. A lot of links on the web, our web page, but also WIS TV has a link to this outage map. A lot of people said, why build this if your power is out, you're not going to be able to access it? Well, you know, 5 years ago, yeah. Today, you have laptops and tablets Mr. Shirley has and all kinds of other stuff, smartphones. People want to know if their power's out. Heck, people are at work checking if their power's out at home. So, external outage map. Next one is our internal outage map. Go to the next one. With the internal one, and I'm pushing hard, this is one of those battles between operations and GIS. I think we should publish as much data as possible. They're a little more, maybe we don't want to show them all of our data, but we show it all the way down. Internal, we know what device is out, what customers are impacted with the polygon around it, and all the transformers impacted. So,
Does that mean we don't have to call you? To let you know?
That is.
Call Wayne directly.
Yeah, I'll give you my number at
Call
the
his
end.
personal line.
Now we got a text now.
So we'll hold that question, Dave, till I get to the next. There's a slide coming up soon, I hope. Next one. Tree trimming ties into outage management. Before GIS, and it was a crazy process on paper. The contractors would bid. They didn't know how many miles they were bidding on. They were marking it up on a piece of paper. It was inconsistent from one area to the next, from one contractor, and we said, hey, we can do this in GIS. So we took what we thought was going to be a Silverlight viewing application and figured out we could edit using Silverlight, gave it to the contractors, and now they enter their data instead of sending it to us on a piece of paper. And they get immediate feedback, and we can use it for billing. So what started off as just a clever idea turned into a really neat way of doing things. And when you want to know what they trimmed last year, you can tell them exactly. You can tell them how many miles of what type of trimming they did, and saves them money, saves us money, saves our customers money. Another one, we do tree removals, just kind of clever. All this stuff just goes into GIS. We have a historical record of it. We spend about $18 million, if you follow the news, doing tree trimming. So and GIS drives that. That's kind of a really cool, if you ever want to see how you impact the bottom line of the company, that's just a neat thing that little old GIS department gets to do. Next. After we trim it, we have to spray it. Try and keep vegetation from growing back, especially with brush and stuff on the right of way. So we actually use an ARC engine app because that's where we were before we were doing Silverlight. Next. Like we do on the gas side, we do distribution planning on the electric side, fed completely by GIS. They do all their modeling using GIS. Next. This is the one for you, Dave. So this is our outage management system. A lot of stuff on the map, but ultimately GIS is working with the outage management system, is working with the SCADA system. Anybody know what SCADA stands for? Me either. And you, Emily, you can't know. It's supervisory control and data acquisition. Basically, it's a smart device in the field that we can operate from a computer by pointing on a switch, and it closes or opens based on what we tell it to do, whether that's at a substation or one that's up on a pole. These are all tied together. So, Dave, we should know you're out based on the device that's operated. A lot of people don't trust that, so they call anyways. But if between what we have and you look on the computer, we should feel pretty comfortable we know that you're out. Excuse me. But a lot of stuff going on. We build a model twice a week from GIS into OMS. We're looking to go to daily, which is going to be both horrifying, scary, and exciting at the same time. Next. Slide, just like on the gas side, we used to do very few things on the electric side except for keep up with poles, transformers, and line. Now we have all this stuff going on. They can't even think about what they want to do without calling GIS, which puts a lot of pressure, a lot of work, and a lot of stress on us, but it's really neat that GIS is finally become an enterprise-wide integrated application. Next. This one's for Yaco. Terrible slide, poor graphics, but Yaco figured out how to put GIS, our GIS data onto a garment, which is kind of really bizarrely neat because you can set alarms on it on points, and he figured out how you can be driving by a switch you need to do and it'll ding. You can figure out where your facilities are. It's kind of just a clever thing, but when you think about when we have storm duties, if you work in Charleston and we bring you to Columbia, you have no idea really what the system looks like. But if they tell you to go to such and such a thing, you're not going to be looking at a map, you're not going to be looking at your computer, you can look at what you're used to and it'll get you there. So we use it for storm duty and trouble, where either guys are working alone at night in a truck or they come from different areas to help out in storm restoration. And for that matter, if we had a huge storm and we had crews coming from off system, we could do the same thing for tree trimming and contract group. Little tongue exercise I like to do in the middle of my presentation. Next. This is kind of funny. I don't want to make too big a laugh about it, but when I first started at the company, there was this ginormous wall map of territorial assignment, and everybody thought that was the truth. And it hadn't been updated since when it was made in like 1978, and a lot has happened since then. So this is an artist's rendition of what it looks like in GIS. And maybe someday you all talk Yaco into giving a detailed presentation of how we keep up with that in GIS. We've been going county by county. Iago's been doing some incredible work, even down to the parcels. It's been a really interesting thing where we sit down with the co-ops and at a parcel say, we'll give you that one, you take this one, we'll take that one, figure out in our choice areas who has the right to serve a customer. Next, electric transmission portal. Just built a web viewer for our electric transmission group, never had GIS, they needed it. Next, man, they have a lot of information, a lot of engineering information that they couldn't get access to. It would take them 6 hours to get an answer from 3 different systems, and now it takes them 5 minutes. They can go to GIS, find out what they need to see, pull up all these crazy engineering drawings out of our file management system. And if there's one thing SCANA has, it's a lot of different systems. Computer systems, storage systems, data systems, operating systems, servers, you name it. It's hard to keep track of where everything is. And to be able to put these things on people's desktop so they don't go to the file room, they don't call someone, they can pull it up on their desktop, on a laptop, or whatever. It's just really incredible. And I think there's LiDAR data on this one, but I think I dropped another LiDAR slide on the next one. Another clever federal regulation. We had to do a bunch of stuff, and we got to buy LiDAR data. Got to buy, I mean, we had to pay for it. They didn't help us out with that. It's kind of expensive for those of you that have looked at it. But we got really cool imagery for the corridor and really cool detailed data of our infrastructure and really awesome 3D models you can do about twisting and turning stuff around, which is really more for entertainment purposes than anything else, unless you're going to engineer with it. But that's also one of the goals. But it helped us verify the accuracy of our data, helped us look at vegetation encroachment, helped us look at, hey, why did you put a swimming pool underneath our power line? And they're like, because we own the land, you just have the right to be there. I'm like, good point, but don't electrocute yourself. So, next, gas transmission. I mean, it boggles my mind to go through all these presentations that I smushed together, because it's just, Dave and I were reminiscing up front, and when we were started on things, it was incredible how far we've come. And GIS really started at SCANA because of Dave. Dave's son started off on a project and ended up getting a job out of that, and then they needed somebody to finish the project, and Dave said, "Dear graduate student, go do this for me." Actually, I think I worked for you at that time. I was more than a grad. I was one level above graduate student. I was just lab lackey. And that was 20 plus years ago. And it's weird to look back, and we tried to get the transmission company 7 years in a row. We tried to get our gas transmission company to do GIS, and they kept doing it on a project by project basis, which made it really tough when we finally got them to go to a single SD database. Everything was in like 40 different file folders, shape files, no adherence to coordinate system, different vendors producing data, no multiple versions of the truth, and it was really in almost one level below sanity. But now we have it, and go ahead, that's fine, we have enough about that. This is an old web ADF viewer. We're in the process of replacing it with Silverlight, but who knew SCANA had fiber? Who knew it went all the way to North Carolina? But it does. High-speed fiber, we lease stuff on it, which that's gotten us in trouble, but that's a later slide. But there's our fiber. There's the footprint of our fiber for SCANA Communications. Next. And we track it all the way down. I think that's actually downtown. I think that is the artist formerly known as the Palmetto Center, which used to be our headquarters. But downtown, all the switches, all the detailed schematics of where our fiber is and how much availability we have, et cetera, et cetera. Managing GIS used to be map info, but we finally won that war. Critical facilities, can't talk about that, they're critical. But when I saw this slide, I left it in there because anybody who's been following the news, some clever person took a high-powered rifle and started shooting at a substation in California, successfully knocked out several transformers, and now they think we need more security at our substation. how many substations do we have, Yaakov? Like 3 or 4? Yeah. How are we going to secure 480 plus substations and collectively as utilities throughout the United States? How are we going to do that so that some crackpot in his bottle of Jack Daniels can't shoot with a rifle, or worse, somebody who actually is intentionally trying to do something as in a terrorist kind of way? Because could somebody please, Emily, stop using your phone and get me a glass of water from the back?
I can.
Thank you. How many of you are familiar with the term blackout? Now, the tougher question, how about a black start? Get the water, you can't answer all the questions. So when you're familiar with what happens in a blackout, we lose all the power. Thank you. In a black start, it means we've lost all the power, like all of the power. And for those of you that don't know, you need electricity to start generation. You can't just flip a switch because there's no switch to flip. So when all the power's out, like in these things where they have these scenarios, if you watch 24, well, that scary as that is, that stuff could really happen. And when we had our rolling blackouts, when we had the really cold weather and we had some instrumentation freeze up, which is an interesting story in and of itself, everybody starts disconnecting from everybody else. So Southern, Santee Cooper, Duke, anybody that we're connected with says we need to disconnect from you, so you can't get extra power from us because we're worried about you tripping us, and secretly they're worried about themselves tripping us. Because it is truly like a domino. So, but you need electricity to start electricity. So there's an elaborate plan mapped out that we have Lake Murray Dam, so we can generate electricity without electricity. We can use water. And so when it starts one by one, building the system back out until we start getting generation on, and then we pick up circuits, and then we gradually pick up substations, etc. But going back to critical facilities, you know, in GIS we want to share our data, which for those of you that have tried to get our data, we're a little close-fisted on it. And that's why, because this critical infrastructure stuff is a little bit of a challenge, because how much do you publish and give out at the risk of getting into the wrong hands? But thankfully with Google and Bing and everything else, and unless you don't have access to a computer, you can find all this stuff with a really, you know, very simple way. You go to the public library and bring it up on a computer and figure out where this stuff is. So, but we keep track of our critical facilities in GIS. We have plans, we know where they are, we have remediation, our security group. We have a lot of stuff that goes on just to keep our plants secure, and it looks like we'll be trying to figure out how to keep our substations secure. Okay, let's go. We're almost finished. We have a dock pilot. We own Lake Murray. Well, we manage Lake Murray. We own the land underneath Lake Murray. We manage all the docks. We came up with a cool dock management program. Next. We use it for real estate. That's another upside. We own a lot of land, so we manage it in GIS. Next. I told you we'd get to the lawsuit. The fiber, we have all this fiber. We have it in a right-of-way, in our transmission right-of-way. And our right-of-way documentation said we could, you know, put our own facilities there, but it did not specifically define whether or not you could lease capacity on those fiber lines. And some clever lawyer came up from Florida and said, hey, they don't have the right to sell capacity in your right-of-way, they owe you money. And we use GIS to help figure out how much money we owe. One more slide, I think. Oh no, 2 more slides quickly, because there's a couple that pop up. We're moving to a mobile dispatch based on GIS. It's called Click Mobility. There's click a couple of times because I think there's words that come up before you can get to the next slide. I don't even know what the boxes say, but it's going to optimize routing, scheduling. You'll be able to get a 2-hour window on when people are going to come to your house to do something from SCNG. Welcome to 2014. It's exciting. Next. One more. Clever stuff, GIS stuff. I mean, truly GIS stuff. 10 Technician 1 looks like he's closer to the job where the X is, but if he has to go across the river, he's not. And we'll be able to use optimization to help figure that out. I've been wanting this for like 10 years, and finally they've given in and done it. Plus, it's going to do a bunch of cool stuff, replace an old system and everything else. But as a GIS guy, that is cool. And sooner or later, we're going to finish our ArcGIS online implementation. We've drank the Kool-Aid, and it's going to be a destination on our internal website. And I think that's it. It is. So there's no time for questions. But please, if anything you saw, piqued your interest at all, please look me up and give us a call. Come by and see us. Invite us to your place. If you're a vendor and you have something to sell us, come and talk to us too. We get calls every day. But we have so much to offer. There's so much we could do if we would partner on things. There's a lot we could do for the community and the citizens that we all serve. So thanks for giving me 45 minutes of your life. Hopefully it was worth it.